Have you ever been relaxing, just about to fall asleep, and suddenly a thought pops up? Wait, did I lock the door? So you get up, check the door, and it's locked. But weirdly enough, a few minutes later, that same thought creeps back in. You check again, and again, until you're completely exhausted. If you've ever experienced something like this, take a deep breath, you're not alone. Many people go through similar experiences, and in some cases, it may be part of a condition called checking OCD. Let's dive deeper into this topic in a friendly and easy-to-understand way. Who knows? This conversation might make you feel seen and a little less alone. Ever felt that kind of mental loop before? Let's keep the conversation going. Part 1. Getting to know checking OCD. Checking OCD is one form of obsessive-compulsive disorder where someone feels compelled to repeatedly check certain things. This isn't about forgetfulness or being a perfectionist. It's about a deep internal urge that feels impossible to resist. This urge often stems from irrational fears or worries, even though they may feel very real to the person experiencing them. For example, someone might feel they have to check the door over and over because they fear a burglary might happen, even if they know it's already locked. Or they fear they'll cause a fire because they might have left the stove on. And it's not just about doors or stoves. Checking can extend to countless areas. Some check their emails obsessively for mistakes. Others review conversations in their minds over and over, afraid they might have unintentionally offended someone. What makes this different from normal concern is the intensity and frequency. Even after checking, doubt still lingers. It's not about mistrusting the outside world. It's about not trusting yourself and your memory. Have you ever doubted your memory even though you just did something? Let's keep digging in. Part 2. Diving into the symptoms of checking OCD. Symptoms of checking OCD can vary from person to person, but some patterns are quite common. The key elements here are obsessions and compulsions. Obsessions are intrusive, unwanted thoughts or mental images that keep coming back. These often center around fear, anxiety, or the need for certainty. Thoughts like, what if I left the iron on and it causes a fire? Or what if I didn't lock the door and someone breaks in? Compulsions are the actions a person takes to try to relieve the anxiety brought on by those obsessions. In checking OCD, this means checking the same thing multiple times. Even when there's no evidence of danger, that nagging feeling doesn't go away. What's both frustrating and exhausting is that people with checking OCD are usually aware that their behaviors are excessive. They know they've locked the door. But that tiny seed of doubt can grow into a full-blown spiral. Checking can show up in many areas of life. Some people check appliances, light switches, or even their phone and messaging apps. Others check social interactions, rereading old conversations or analyzing past events in their minds, what's called mental checking. This type of checking isn't about physical actions, but internal processes, going over a situation again and again to make sure they didn't do something wrong. Ever feel trapped in a thought loop that just won't let up? Let's look into where all this might be coming from. Part 3. Why does OCD happen? To this day, there's no single explanation for why someone develops OCD. But researchers believe it results from a mix of biological, psychological, and environmental factors. Biologically, OCD is linked to how certain parts of the brain function, especially those responsible for decision-making, impulse control, and fear processing. Imbalances in serotonin, a key brain chemical that affects mood, are also believed to play a role. Genetically, having a family member with OCD increases your chances of developing it, though that doesn't mean it's always inherited. Life experiences and environment also matter a lot. Traumatic events, stressful environments, or overly strict upbringings can trigger OCD. For example, someone raised in a household that emphasized extreme cleanliness or control might be more prone to developing checking compulsions later in life. Psychologically, some theories suggest people with OCD have an exaggerated sense of personal responsibility. They feel like they must prevent bad things from happening. This often ties in with perfectionism and a low tolerance for uncertainty. Do you often feel responsible for things far outside your control? Let's look at how this affects daily life. Part 4. How checking OCD impacts daily life. Checking OCD may seem harmless or even quirky on the surface, just some extra caution. But for the person going through it, the impact can be overwhelming. Daily routines can be heavily disrupted. Someone might be late for work because they kept going back to check the stove or the lights. The compulsion eats up time and mental energy, leaving them drained. Socially, it can lead to misunderstandings. A person with checking OCD might seem overly anxious or mistrusting. They may keep asking for reassurance from friends or partners, which can create tension in relationships. Many also feel ashamed of their behaviors. They might criticize themselves for being too much or worry that others think they're weird. This emotional toll can lead to anxiety, low self-esteem, and even depression. In some cases, people begin avoiding certain tasks altogether, like not cooking to avoid the stress of checking the stove, or avoiding being alone at home. The world becomes smaller, limited by fear. Ever feel like your daily routine is hijacked by your need to be 100% sure? Let's explore how to manage this. Part 5. How to cope with and manage checking OCD. Dealing with checking OCD isn't easy, but it is absolutely possible. One of the most effective treatments is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, specifically a technique called exposure and response prevention, ERP. ERP involves gradually exposing a person to the source of their anxiety and helping them resist the urge to perform compulsions. For instance, someone who checks the door 5 times might be guided to stop at 2, then eventually 1, and then learn to tolerate the discomfort without checking. Over time, the brain learns that anxiety can pass on its own without having to perform a ritual. Alongside therapy, self-care plays a big role. Getting enough sleep, eating well, exercising, and cutting back on caffeine can help reduce overall anxiety. Practices like meditation, journaling, or simply talking to someone you trust can also be valuable. Some people may benefit from medication, especially SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which help regulate serotonin levels in the brain. But medication should always be taken under professional guidance. Support from loved ones is incredibly important too. When people around you understand that checking OCD isn't just a weird habit, but a real mental health challenge, it becomes easier to seek help and stay motivated. Do you have someone in your life who makes you feel safe enough to open up? Let's wrap this up with a final reflection. If this conversation about checking OCD resonates with you, know this: you are not alone. There are many others out there grappling with the same persistent doubts, overwhelming fears, and exhausting need to be certain. Recognizing what you're experiencing is a huge first step. Your brain is working overtime, trying to protect you. And while it may feel relentless at times, that doesn't mean you're stuck with it forever. With the right support, whether through therapy, community, or simply being heard, life can feel more manageable again. You deserve peace of mind, and it's okay to take small steps toward that goal. So, are you ready to take that next small step toward your own calm? You've got this, and we're rooting for you. Disclaimer: this content is created for educational and awareness purposes only. We are not licensed mental health professionals. If you believe you may be experiencing OCD or any psychological condition, we strongly encourage you to seek help from a qualified psychologist, psychiatrist, or mental health professional. Seeking help is not a weakness, it's an act of courage. And you deserve the support you need.